Hi, gorgeous. Welcome back to Queen Flow. Before we dive into today's episode, that I'm just so excited to share with you, I'm just like, what has been going on behind the scenes to bring this forward. It's just so amazing. I love when I get to the other side and there's something really powerful to teach back to you to obviously get you the kind of quantum results that you're here for. So we are going to be diving into the new era of business, the new era of sales, the quantum sales pathway, what it is, how this occurred, the results that it's landing, how you can get access to it too. And so, along those lines, the investment for the revolution is going up November 1st. So, I want to make sure that you have that in your brain. The revolution is my mastermind where you are going to get the full feminine business and limitless wealth creation premium product suite, of course. And it is the space for high touch, individually attuned mentorship, where, of course, in my world, we do not dim down your multidimensionality. We actually make your depth the reason that you are paid. So, something that I notice so often for energetically attuned women is you are told in other spaces to basically slim down so much that, meaning in your articulation, et cetera, that we now aren't even really you anymore, right? You just kind of sounding like everybody else in your niche. And quite often it's because you're going to people who don't quite understand your depth and how to market it. They don't really know what to do with it, right? Or you're in these highly energetic spaces where it's bring forward all of you. And it's yes, bring forward all of you, but it's lacking the strategic insight to really turn that to turn your depth into high level demand of sales. So anyhow, inside the revolution, your depth doesn't complicate sales. It actually becomes your distinction, cements your positioning, and stacks the cash that matches your power. Because this is something else I see as well, where you're I'm carrying such a high level of power. Why isn't that showing up with my money? And so we want to close that gap energetically and strategically, obviously, through the strategic lens where everything we do that is content related, everything that we do that is sales strategy related, everything that we do is offer strategy, offer stock related, just everything that we do is obviously going to be matched to you, your personality, your points of power, your unique difference, right? And so one piece of what I bring forward in the revolution that I'm going to be speaking with you about today is the quantum sales pathway, which is a frequency coded sales channel that has just sells like fucking clockwork. So you can sit back and relax. And I'm going to be speaking today about why mine is working so powerfully versus what tends to happen when us energetically attuned women try to put in place these more automated pathways, and it starts to feel really heavy and we reject it and it doesn't work. And so then we're kind of resigned to I need to show up to make money or live off reoccurring income until it dries up life. And we don't need to be doing that either. We can actually just have people coming in every single day and eating up your whole product suite just gets to be a real thing with about 1/3 or less of the effort that you're putting in now. And also, something that has just been so important, I've been working with so much of my clients, is ensuring that our signature edge is actually dripping all over our brand, because it's going to be so much of the reason that it's easy for you to be paid. So you are not someone who's all over the internet trying to compete on fucking frameworks and how much access there is to you and price. I think something people don't realize is hey guys, it's 2025, everybody has frameworks and they're really important, but they are no longer going to be that thing that just sets you apart. It's just a basic part of doing business at a quote unquote high level these days, is that you have methodologies and you have frameworks, but it is not going to be that thing that tips you over into a fucking overflow of sales. So we need our signature edge in place. We need our je ne sais quoi in place, and we have to be able to articulate it fully across our entire brand so that people can really, and not just talking the talk, right? But giving people that feeling so that they actually feel connected to you, because that's actually the thing that there's no competition. There is no competition. You don't want to be competing with other people's frameworks. You want to be competing on the pieces about you that there's nothing to compete over, because people can't replicate you, right? And so then we have to bring you forward really powerfully in a way that actually sells, not from a place of and you don't sound like yourself, but you sound so much like yourself and it feels so much like you and it is you, but it's also done strategically so that it sells, right? This is what we do inside the revolution. This is what we create for you. We will build out your quantum sales pathways, and it doesn't always, I'm going to get into it in the episode, because it's you can build a pathway. You can have a couple pathways. There can be things where we're only just selling your high ticket directly, only selling your mid ticket directly. Perhaps you're building out your program suite now, whatever it is. I am there to help you be rich as fuck, well paid, and relax. Essentially, that is my job. So anyhow, the investment for the revolution is going up November 1st. So I want to let you know that currently credits apply for any purchase that you've made in the past 30 days from Overflow, from Magnify, Manifest, Receive, and from the Secret Money membership. So if you have credits, you are welcome to use those. You can email assistant@jocelynkellyreid.com and my team can help you apply them. Or if you have any questions, of course, you can send me a DM on Instagram. I also want to remind you that you're able to rate and review the podcast and receive $200 off any purchase in the company short of the Secret Money membership. This does apply to the revolution as well. So how you would do that is you would just screenshot, write your review, take a screenshot, DM it to me or send it to assistant@jocelynkellyreid.com. Please make sure you tell us which offer you would like to apply the $200 off to. Sometimes you'll send them in and you don't tell us which offer, which is okay, but then we just have a little more back and forth instead of being able to get you the code directly. So tell us which offer you'd like to apply that code to. We will get you your code and you will be all set. So I love you so much. Come join us inside the revolution. You will be breathing the biggest fucking sigh of relief of all time when you see how much easier business and money gets to be, contrary to like the revolving dog and pony show that is on the internet these days. All right. Love ya. Hello, angels. Welcome back to the show. I'm so happy to be here with you today because I have some incredible results from my business that I want to share and some background on those results, as I really feel that so many women in the online space are in seasons of big change. So many of us started around the same time, 2018, 2019. Perhaps you're starting sooner, perhaps you started earlier. But chances are, if you have been in business for a few years and you are a energetically attuned woman who feels the kind of intensity, the speed, just the way that the planet is ascending and moving right now, you are also probably feeling called to a lot more rest and a lot more stillness and a deepening connection to your values and what they are. And does your business align with your values, right? For this current season of your life and for where you see your life going from here. Now, of course, I don't necessarily mean like, are you teaching what you want to teach? Da 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 da. Like, is it time for your messaging to evolve? Like, those things could be true. And you, of course, can tune into that. But that isn't really what I'm speaking about today. What I'm speaking about today is I really feel that a lot of us are really connecting into like, okay, we've had our grind seasons, we've had hustle seasons. Like, we know what that energy feels like. We know what it's like to be on all the time. We know what it's like to launch every 30 days. We know what it's like to like be all in and have this like all in energy. And in a way to have the business low key become the first priority. And you are probably realizing or have realized like you don't necessarily desire for that to be the case. And you also aren't interested in like giving up your income, right? Or in making less money, because why, we get to have it all, right? Why would us desiring to prioritize life and the fullness of life and the multidimensional ways we desire to live life mean that we have to make less money? Like, this is just simply not the case, but we often believe that it's the case because we've been role modeled like hustle, grind, hard work. One day you're going to get there. Yet there's like zero evidence of like the more work you put in, the more money you make. Even if you just think about on the planet, some of the hardest working people are making the least amount of money. And there's just no correlation inside business between like how busy you are equaling like you making more money, right? Like, it's just never going to be about that. I've never seen that result come out of my company. I've never seen that result come out of anyone's company who I've ever mentored. It's just programming, right? We live in a very masculine culture. So you are just trained to automatically believe the harder you work, the more money you'll make. And you've likely probably already seen when that is not in alignment for you, you actually wind up making less money or your income stalls out because the ways that you're making the money become so unsustainable and your internal system is like, fuck no. Well, I don't want to make any more money then because this is already unsustainable. So like, where the hell are we going? No matter whether that be like how many people you have in proximity, how you deliver your work, or your marketing and sales system, right? There will be something that just like does not feel sustainable or can't necessarily come with you for the long run. And you're maturing in how you do business and you're realizing more and more and more like, hey, like, of course, we love mentoring our clients, but also you want want to be growing a company, which would inherently mean the company is not so fully reliant on you in order for it to make money, right? Like eventually we want something that is self-sustained where we are plugging in and we are inside mentorship and we are mentoring clients directly because we desire to, but either the systems that bring those clients in is very easeful and very light, or that proximity is coming in like as a bonus, right? And so if we think about creating this level of company, well, obviously that is going to like take some time, but unless you see yourself being 65 on Instagram stories, like we kind of want to get to building, right? So before we even dive into this, because what I'm going to be sharing with you is essentially how I got to creating the quantum sales pathway in my business. So what this has resulted in, and essentially what this is like my sales channel, right? And it's one of my sales channels. But the way the whole ecosystem works is I'm calling the quantum sales pathway. But I have a specific sales channel that sells into my signature wealth building offer, Overflow, that has been working incredibly well. And so that sales channel has been creating the result of 33% conversion from my low ticket offer and my freebie into my $1,111 offer, which is sent through my email sequence and through how I'm delivering the offers, and just a number of different factors that we are going to get into. But this result and that conversion rate is like unheard of. What is normal in this industry is about 1 to 5%. Good, very good, it's like 10 to 12%. So to be having these conversions at 33% over the past few months is just absolutely insane. And also because I do not have a product funnel that goes from like a $33 offer to a 297 offer to 555 to 1111, right? Where there's all these different steps. I was like, no, thank you. Just no, thank you. As you guys know about me, or if you're new to me, you will soon find out I like to take the fastest flight to Rome, right? Like we just need to get there, and I'm going to figure out how to get us there without having all these like unnecessary steps that I don't desire to have. So I did not desire to build like this complex product funnel. I did not desire to build an email funnel that requires taking people through like 45 different offers to get them into the offer I actually want them in. I was like, as usual, why does it need to be so complicated? Why does it need to be so hard? And the answer is it doesn't. But before I even talk about this, because, obviously there's people all over the internet talking about like quote unquote passive sales. And we do need to understand that while the result is passive, so yes, like, okay, cool. I've got, new people coming into my low ticket offer every day. We've got 33% of them upgrading into the $1,111 offer. We've got people upgrading from there into my mastermind. Like it is all working so beautifully and with so much ease without me needing to quote unquote do anything. However, there was upfront work required to get this to a place where it would perform at this level. And then of course there's the quote unquote work that gets people into that low ticket pathway, no matter whether you're leveraging automations or you're doing this passively. I'm sorry, organically, which is also quite simple as well, but we're doing that. And if you have automations, there's, going to be the different pieces that go into that, like our targeting, our ad creative, our ad copy. Sometimes things fatigue and we've got to like bring something new for it, all of that. But to me, that feels like a lot lighter work than constantly needing to be in launches in order for these products to sell, to have, then having things sit on the shelf unless you bring them forward. In terms of the side of your business that goes through launches. In my business, it was always about like 50% was evergreen and 50% was going through launches. And obviously what was going on at the time was like, well, I would make the most money when I had my evergreen offers going. And then I was kind of like consistently launching the products that would go through launches. So, but what wound up happening was at the end of 2023 was my first $1 million cash year inside a calendar year. And it really caused me to take pause in terms of how I was feeling in the business and what I wanted and how I wanted to make that money again. I will say for me, it did not feel like as exciting as when you see people like freaking out over their first $1 million year, because I had already made $1 million inside of 12 months, just not inside of a calendar year, but like, $1 million in 12 months is $1 million in 12 months, no matter whether it's from April to April or January, January through December, like what difference does it make? So I'd kind of already done it already. And the year prior was already a 900K cash year. So like I was kind of like accustomed to making money at that clip, and I'd been sustaining it for a very long time. So in a lot of ways, like that the money was sustainable in terms of the fact that it was consistent. But what I was starting to tune into and why I didn't feel like as excited as most people would, in addition to the fact that like, okay, I'd already made that money inside that period of time, multiple times, well, just shy of 100K shorter the year before. But do you know what I mean? Like, we'd already done it inside 12 months, just not inside a calendar year. Then we did inside a calendar year, but okay, cool. So, what was starting to hit me was like, is this how I want to make this money going forward? Do I see myself wanting to make this money this way like 3 years from now? And the answer was honestly no. Like, I had, I've like fucking love masterminds, right? So I had a lot of masterminds and I just had, so while I never had very many private clients, like private was always less than 15% of my income. I've never scaled my business largely off private coaching. The only time was in like the very, very beginning. And then I quickly realized like this is not sustainable at all. Like, insert my first high ticket group immersion. And that was kind of like my zone, right? From then forward. And that came very early in my business, like in the first 6 months. So I was never in kind of that like private coaching drama trap where like you're so wound up in delivery you can't even like scale your company and you're just like repeating yourself all the time, and you actually just need to build a high ticket offer that is going to take people through the same transformation, but part of it is self-led, part of it is supported by you. Instead of you walking every single client through the exact same thing over and over and over, right? You systematize your process and then you mentor people together so that they can actually learn from how other people are being mentored. Like, there's just a lot more leverage. Like, it's just actually super fucking efficient. You make money really fast, very easily, and then you don't internally block more money coming in because more clients coming on doesn't necessarily mean like more work from you, right? So I'd already kind of like mastered that side of the game, but I still had, I was just leaned into mastermind energy like more than I desired to be. And because I just come out of like seasons of creation, right? So just like really building out, my high ticket offer suite, my mid ticket offers, like I was playing with a bunch of low ticket offers, not as strategically like as I would now, but I had built a lot, I had created a lot. And like, I just didn't desire to like always be, even though I was having a lot of money come in evergreen, I didn't desire to have the other half of that money that wasn't like come in through launches. Like, I was just over it. Like, I don't care how easy someone says launching gets to be. Like, I just didn't want to be launching. And that was just, and I'd already made it easy, right? Like that, I was never having a hard time with launching, and I was never doing anything exhausting. I wasn't like running challenges. I wasn't doing sales calls. I wasn't doing these like big live events. I wasn't doing webinars. I wasn't doing like 3 months of a launch planned out in advance. I wasn't even requiring like, oh, first I got to do this low ticket thing in order to get them into the mid ticket offer, in order to get them into the high ticket offer. Yes, I have all those touch points in my business, but like I wasn't running that way. Like, when I wanted to sell high ticket, I would just sell the high ticket offer. When I wanted to sell mid ticket, I would just sell the mid ticket offer. When I wanted to sell low ticket, I would just sell the low ticket offer. Like, there were no requirements of certain things needing to happen in a certain order in order for people to come into my high ticket spaces. Like, I was just selling exactly what I wanted to sell, right? So it always felt like very easy, but I just like didn't even desire that rhythm anymore. And I wanted to just, and I remember like at the end of that year, there was this day and it was Christmas time. And so I was at home and I was on, like, I was like posting on social media or something. And I remember like I was sitting next to my brother and like, $20,000 came in. And I was like, well, that's a vibe. But I was like, but I'm on my phone. Like, this is not even what I want to be doing. Like, yes, amazing, $20,000, but I still had to like show up to make this money in a way that I don't desire. And then I had remembered too that like we had just come off of like Black Friday, which was before Thanksgiving. And I was in Atlanta for that Thanksgiving. And I was like, I don't want to be working on these days. Yes, I was making like shit tons of money. And it's not like the work was so tiring, so extensive. Like, okay, cool. Is it that hard to show up on Instagram stories? No. But the main point was like, I didn't want to anymore. Like, that used to be exciting to me. That used to be thrilling to me. Like, just having that experience of being able to pick up your phone and just make such insane amounts of money in such short amount of time. Like, yes, of course that's thrilling. But for me at least, there came a point where I was like, okay, yeah, this is exciting, but like I don't want to be on my phone. Like, I just do not want to be on my phone. It's the holidays. I want to be like living my life. And of course you could say like, well, automate your emails and schedule your posts and all these different things. And that is a solution, but like for me, it was about the fact that I just knew the money could come easier. I knew, like, I already had established a certain level of ease, and that was perfect. Like, I'm so glad that I've, gone through all these different seasons, but now it was just time for a new level of ease, right? What had been easy for me to before started to feel heavy. And so I just wanted things to change. And what I realized that I was being invited into was an era of stability, of stabilizing. So to make more money from there, I was like, okay, well, it's not like I want triple, double the people that I have in proximity that I have now, right? I'm not going to be doing like double the output. I'm not going to be like quadrupling my prices. My prices already felt really good. I was like, so this is going to have to, we're not going to be scaling off this energy. Like something is going to have to change. And so what actually needed to change was like my sales pathway needed to change. And I had all these assets, and perhaps you do too, or you know, maybe you're earlier than I am, or you just haven't created as many products as I have, and maybe you've just got a few assets. It doesn't really matter. If you got things to work with, you got things to work with. Or if you're like, well, I'm brand spanking new and I'm building assets, great. You're going to have this intel early. And so what I didn't realize at the time, and it took me a long time to realize, like I said, was that I was being invited into an era of stabilizing these big numbers that I knew how to make, but making them less reliant on me. And so what that led to was kind of like a year of being like, oh, what is it that I want? Like, I really didn't know fully what I wanted. Like, yes, I was continuing to make great money, but I was also feeling just like a little heavy. And you know, I closed the containers I desired to close. Like, I evolved all of that, but something just still didn't feel fully right. And again, it was because I was like still acting as a sales system in a way that like didn't necessarily feel fantastic to me, even though I had the long-term high ticket spaces, even though I had the long-term low ticket spaces. Like it wasn't for lack of reoccurring income or any of these things that kind of can come up for people earlier. It was literally just time for my sales system to change. And so so that sounds okay, cool, like insert solution. But then what became challenging is like I didn't really feel like there was anybody to model to me what that looked like. Like, of course, were there loads of women who had like, you know, low ticket offers that sold into their mid ticket offers, that sold into their masterminds. Yes, there was no shortage of this on the internet. Were there loads of women running ads, women doing the same thing organically? Of course, right? But lots of them were just like what I saw. I was like, okay, but you now launch a low ticket offer like every 2 weeks just to get people into the same space. Like, tell me how this is sustainable. And while that might work for some people's energy, like, I am not one of those people who's just like literally living to work. Like, I've noticed a lot of the people where it's like a new offer every 30 days, it's always a new offer. There's actually very little even coming back to signature offers. Like, it's just always new creation, new creation, new creation, new creation. It's like their energy is very much like living to work. And that is not my energy. It's like I've always been about like the feminine exhale. I've always been about wealth without the cost. I've always been about building a business that supports our life, not like life run by the business. And while I'm willing to put in hard work, I want that hard work to be going somewhere. So I'm not interested in hard work to make money, new money every 30 days. I'm like, I want to put in the money once into something, make money forever. So stage one of that was like, okay, building the offers that I feel really good about. So now we have assets that can make me money forever. But the system around them was not set up to do it once and make money forever. And that's what I needed to build. And the problem for me was like everybody who was teaching this was running their business in a way that I found wildly unsustainable, or they were incredibly, incredibly 3D in the way that they teach strategy. And like, I'm a very frequency first human. So are you guys, obviously. Like, this is why you're here. And as you've probably experienced, when you're learning from people who are just like hardcore strategy, hardcore strategy, hardcore strategy, like it feels really tight, and like you tend to have a hard time like running your frequency like through those channels. Like it just does not feel right. The same way that when as you know, watch people in the real world just doing everyday things or moving about life in these very like 3D linear ways, you're like, I am not vibing. I do not get what you're doing. Like the quantum leap is available. Like, why wouldn't we be tapping into that? Just the very same way that I saw with people's funnels, I'm like, why the hell do I need 45 offers to get people into $1,000 offer through a funnel? Like, hello, let's just quantum leap. Like, if we leverage frequency, everything moves faster. And none of the frequency first women have smart sales systems. Everything with them is like live energy, what downloaded today, blah, blah, blah. Like they are the sales system, and they're just relying on their channel to keep on giving until the channel fucking collapses because they become exhausted. So there was really no one who was like frequency first, energetically attuned, spiritual, whatever you want to call it, like I am, who also had a smart sales system. I was like, this is insane. Right. And so I would like download these, you know, I was just looking at different things. Right. I'm a business coach. I fucking love business. So like I will buy things, just like check the things out, even if I'm not going to implement them. Like there's always something I'm going to learn, either something, you know, something I'm going to take, so even for me to be like, nope, that is not it. Fine. I always like learn something. So I'm never salty. Like, I like learning new things, but I was like, these funnels, I was like, I would never fucking buy from this. Like, what is this? This is so fucking basic. Like, no, this is not going to work in my business. Or even like, and I had great performing sales pages, but I was realizing if I wanted to be less of my sales system, my sales pages need to do a heavier lift. So I was one of those people who's in the situation where, even if we think about the product too I just mentioned, Overflow, which is part of one of my quantum sales pathways that now is fucking selling on autopilot without me. It's like, but for years I was selling that off a checkout link. Like there was very little information. So that was fine. But think about what that meant in reality. What that meant in reality was we were heavily, heavily, heavily reliant on my social media, my emails, my podcasting, all those different things. And granted, those things haven't gone anywhere. Although I would say I'm not as active on social media as I was previously, because I'm like, well, I'm not running an Instagram business. Like all these other things need to work too, right? And before I feel like I was kind of running an Instagram business. Maybe you can relate. um, but anyhow, I was like, okay, but all those other things are carrying the sale instead of the sales page carrying the sale. I was like, okay, this has to change. And I have other offers where like feminine, like feminine magic and money, the revolution, like the cash queen. There's other ones that always had a fully baked sales page. That sales page would do the heavy lifting. Great. But I was like, we just had gaps to close. We just had gaps to close. And I was always curious. I'm like, well, how are other people doing things? Let's check it out. And again, they would always be super 3D and I'd be like bored to tears. And I was like, this is just not going to work. And so basically, I had to find my own way, right? Where I was like, all right, if I want this low ticket offer to convert like clockwork, well, and I don't want to be the one to feed the system every second, then that means the sales page has to do the heavy lift. Okay, great. Like I know this and now but for me, it's like it can't just be like hardcore strategy. Everything has to be frequency coded in order for it to work because my people are activated off frequency. My people are not super 3D people. Like we understand that we want results coming through the 3D. We understand that our results are going to be, half frequency based, half strategically based. But like that frequency, and this is what's so hard for spiritual women, I think when it comes to being like, all right, cool. Well, how do I bring my frequency through a sales page, through an email funnel, right? Like through these very like practical things so that I actually don't have to be so leaned into being the sales system, not because you don't want to be, but because you don't want to have to be that all the time. And think about if you have things that working harder for you and when you are leaned in, you're going to make even more money, right? But you're not creating a system where it's like, all right, cool. Well, like if anything ever happens to you or if you're just, I don't know, pregnant, sick, whatever, just going through a season of life where you don't feel like being leaned in, that you have to give up some piece of your income or just like ride on your reoccurring income until we don't even know when, you know what I mean? And watch it like deplete and then be worried about refilling it. I was like, that's not a problem that I'm interested to have. Like that problem is better than needing to make money every 30 days, but it's still like a problem I don't want to have. I want new sales coming in every day. So ultimately, where I landed is the quantum sales pathway, and that is what we have today. And so this is basically the sales funnel I built of my low ticket offer. And my sequence is actually, I'm not talking about email sequence, I should say my product funnel is a bit different than how they are traditionally taught. So I actually have, so if we think about the main product that I wanted sold, which is Overflow, that's my signature wealth building offer. It is a fucking vibe. There is nothing like it. Like the way I teach, not just making money, but holding it and compounding it. I'm like, this is just so me. Like if I'm going to focus on something and for you too, like let's focus on the offer that you want, that you're really known for that conversation. Maybe you have even more conversions into higher ticket spaces off that offer. It's just so you. Like start with your best selling offer, basically, or the one that you love the most. And so I want to start there. So the offer itself I knew was fucking fantastic. The results were fantastic. I'm so behind it. I am in love with it. There is just like, you know what I mean? It's like chef's kiss, we are golden. So then I was like, how can I support? And then women would get great results. And so many of the incredible women who would come into my mastermind spaces were coming from that offer. And I had just had a lot of practice selling it, like all the different things. And I was like, all right, I want my sales channel to be oriented around overflow, around this offer. So, how do I want to create that experience? So, one, I was like, well, I want a low ticket pathway so that overflow isn't just sitting there and sitting on my site. Basically, yeah, of course, a few people would drop in if it was just sitting there and I'm not selling it, but not in the great volume, right? Like obviously where I was saying when I was saying volume was when I was launching. And my whole thing was I don't want to fucking launch anymore, right? So we needed a new way. And also not just that, it's like I'm just someone who likes to improve my marketing and selling skill set. Just like, of course, I'm a business and money mentor. Why wouldn't I? But like, I just like getting better at things, right? And I was like, there's just another level of mastery available. So if I want people coming into overflow all the time, I'm going to need to create an easy yes for them to get a taste of the experience, right? And so that is where I came up with the gold code, which is my low ticket offer that sells into overflow. Now, let's talk about this for a second because a lot of people have the experience of creating the low ticket offer and then it doesn't convert. So, right. And this is how people end up where it's like, okay, well, I'm selling all these $22 offers, $33 offers, $47 offers, but they ain't going anywhere. Right. And there's a few reasons for that. So, one, that offer is not activating, right? It's not really activating into the next offer, or the way that you're funneling them into the next offer, the system is not activating people for it either, right? So the offer itself needs to be really juicy, has to be activating, has to give people like that kind of like, holy fuck, aha, where has she been my whole life? Or give them a very immediate result that makes working with you in the next space like the obvious choice, right? So it really depends on what you're teaching. So a lot of the times, for example, when you're teaching energy based work, you're giving people ahas and you're like blowing their brain and their energy field open in ways where they're like, oh my Lord, what is happening? Like, okay, I had been feeling this. Like a lot of times what happens for me is like people come forward like, oh my God, I was like praying for something like this. And then here you are, right? For that offer in particular, because it's a more energetic offer. If you're teaching something that is more how to, more strategic, what could be happening is like the result. I remember even like my health coach that I hired as an example. She had a low ticket offer that was basically like a 10-day version of her system. I did that, had great results. Like inflammation went down so fast. I was feeling amazing. I was like, okay, boom, of course I want to hire her, you know? So that wasn't so much of like an aha or something that was shifting my energy field the way that it would have been if it was energetic work, but because her work is more tangible, more practical, but I got a great result inside of those 10 days, right? And then sometimes it's just like the way that you're teaching it is like the exact way they want to learn it and they just need to get a taste. But either way, we need to be creating that like aha or that very immediate result for people for them to desire to go into the next offer. I teach exactly how to do this in Enchanted Sales, which is my signature feminine sales program. There is a module on creating low ticket offers that sell, keeping in mind that you are a frequency first human, because the way that I create a low ticket offer, for example, is going to be very different than a more quote unquote, obviously I'm strategic, but I would say very different than a more 3D business coach, because I don't teach business exactly the way that they do. So I've had to learn, being a frequency first human, well, how am I going to create that experience for them my way? Because if I teach the other way, first of all, it's not me, it's not how my people receive, like it just won't work, right? So everything always for us has to be put through the lens of being frequency coded. So anyhow, you can learn that inside Enchanted Sales, or of course, join us in the revolution for individually attuned mentorship, where your depth is how we create your demand. Okay, so created the low ticket offer that was like the fuck yes, right? I put a sales page on it that is just like, oh, so good, right? And I think a lot of the times what is happening with sales pages and why they are not doing the heavy lifting is because they don't create positive emotional tension. So a lot of people's sales pages are just overly focused on fear, overly focused on pain points, and or they're like all it's like motivation, light and love, and there's no tension, right? People have to feel emotional tension to move, but tension isn't just like it doesn't people assume tension means like all pain points. And I'm like, okay, nobody wants to feel like this is just the heaviest shit in the world, but you need to give them enough contrast in terms of their feelings, right? Where it's like we're hitting the highs and we're hitting those points of activation that create internal urgency for people to desire to move forward on their own. And so when your sales page creates positive emotional tension, emotional pull, activates decision, people are going to move forward very quickly. This does not matter if it is a low ticket sales page, a mid ticket sales page, a high ticket sales page. We have to be really strong at creating positive emotional tension. So when I say positive, I don't mean that your whole sales page, everything is desire based, everything's light and love, everything's like you can do it, right? Like just motivation alone, just inspiration alone does not activate people forward. Just like going so heavy on the pain points 24/7, it's like they're already having a hard time in this area. Like they fucking know they're having a hard time. When you create emotional tension, right? So you're able to like future pace them. You're able to help them like clearly understand why they're having the experience they're having now and what continues to create that experience and your way forward and how that way is different and how it is easier and how it is simpler and show the proof and like all of and basically create this kind of like push pull. It's like we're going up and down. It's sort of like, when you watch a film and I would say this. Okay, a very well done film creates a lot of positive emotional intention. Like there's times where you're like on this your edge of your seat. You're like, what is going to happen next? There's times you're like, oh my God, I'm so happy. This is so amazing. There's times where you're like holding your breath and you're like, what the fuck is going on? There's that range of emotion. We want to create that range of emotion inside of our sales pages and inside of all of our messaging, quite frankly. And most people are missing that their sales pages are just so boring. And it's not your fault. It's this that you keep learning from these like super 3D people. But meanwhile, your work is like dripping in fucking depth and frequency, and you're like minimizing it, right? Because everyone tells you to simplify. And so then you actually haven't learned how to create emotional tension from your depth and your sales pages in ways that people automatically understand, instantly relate to. And so the sales page falls flat. And now all the heavy lifting is on you to carry that sale. And so you might not even realize that the sales pages are working or not. Well, either you're like, okay, my social media is hot and this still isn't converting, or, you're just seeing that people aren't coming into the offer, right? Either while you're selling it and that like how you're positioning it is great, or things, even your low ticket offers sit there and don't sell, right? That means the sales page is not doing its job. And of course, you can just like look at your stats. So my low ticket sales page is converting at 10% to cold traffic. I do have ads running to it presently. Before I had ads, I was just doing the same thing organically. And I was just, creating people moving into the low ticket pathway through my social media, right? And through my emails and through my podcast, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's very high. Normal conversions is like between 1% and 4%, right? So I created a sales page that gives people that positive emotional tension and the depth of understanding and activation that creates internal urgency for them to want to move on their own, in addition to like truly showcasing my genius and like why I'm the one to learn from, but not just from a place of my frameworks and methodologies, although those are important, but from a place of who I am. So something that is so important about this quantum sales pathway is to understand that like we want our signature edge. Think of it like your signature scent, your je ne sais quoi, dripping all over every fucking touch point of this pathway, from your sales pages to your funnel to your low ticket offers, everything, 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 everything. What is your signature edge? Your signature edge is going to be what you do, who you do it for, how you do it, with your essence, and they're all woven together to create that like oomph, right? And for the first three, we're not doing, it's not like I help ambitious women, right? We are moving out of the territory of like Sally the internet marketer, basic as fuck marketing. So the way that we are even bringing forward what you do, who you do it for, how you do it is frequency coded. We are leaving like what business 101, which is where a lot of people are stuck wondering why their months aren't higher. We are going to a different level to where the way you articulate is one, dripping with your essence, and two, so refined to your actual magics to take you out of the land of basic where basic money is made. Like we just need to like graduate from that level. So all those things combined, and this is what I'm so masterful at doing for myself and helping my clients do. And I just see over and over and over. And when they're like 6-figure launches, making $20,000 off emails, like when I really look at even in recent months, everything that I've been doing, with the clients I have proximity to, where I'm seeing crazy results like this, I'm like, we're always uncovering their signature edge and dripping it all over their business because they will even have the worry. They're like, I feel like I sound like everybody else in my niche. I feel like I want the depth of what actually happens inside my spaces to be coming forward in my marketing, to be coming forward on my sales pages, to be coming forward in my messaging. And like, I do not know how to do it. I keep hiring all these super 3D mentors and they tell me I sound too complicated and I need to simplify it. And like, clarity does not mean loss of depth. Clarity does not mean loss of depth. But when you hire people who just don't fucking get you in the first place and don't understand your work in the first place, they don't know how to help you bring clarity to depth because they don't market and sell from depth. And they tend not to mentor people who market and sell from depth either. So then what ends up happening, and I've seen this with so many women who come to my way, whether it be private masterminds, whatever it is like they are now sounding like everybody else on their internet. Their mentor has them marketing exactly like them, sounding like them. And it's just kind of like a mess. And obviously, their money now is not matching their power, or the way they're making money just does not feel fully aligned. But when we uncover and bring forward their signature edge and drip it all over their quantum sales pathway, then of course they're getting better results, right? And so just like I'm getting very strong results now without me being the sales system. Okay, so we covered the low ticket offers. Now let's talk about the funnel, because y'all think you hate email funnels. You don't hate email funnels. You hate the way email funnels have been taught to you. You hate the email funnels that you've been in. You hate the feeling of the complexity and like how and the frustration that comes with how am I going to bring my depth forward through a series of emails. This sounds exhausting, and do trust me, girl, I understand. It sounded exhausting to me too. And because every funnel I was inside of, or that I had access to a template or whatever it was, I was like, I hate this. I hate this. So no wonder all of us spiritual women wind up relying so heavily on social media or other channels where we can just kind of like get up, share our voice, and like, go to bed because we don't feel confined. So the thing is like, we don't, of course, you don't want to feel confined, but you don't have to build a funnel where you feel confined. So I basically came up with the seduction sequence, which is a frequency first email vortex that creates deep resonance, grounded certainty, and energetic momentum that moves my luxury clients from low ticket offers straight into $1,000 to 10K spaces within 7 days without all the emotional wobbles or a dozen stair step offers to hopefully, right, get them into the offer I actually want to be that have them be in. So like I said, I skipped that whole thing where it's like, first we sell them into a 297, then a 55, then the 111, because you know what actually ends up happening? What actually ends up happening is most of the time, people get like 1% of people into that 297 offer, and then the rest drop off. The rest drop off. So, and the funnels are so boring because they're logic first and fucking soul last. So everybody's bored. So we just need to so I was like, hey, we've got to do things differently. And so my first funnel, actually, I was like, I was reading it back. I'm like, this ain't it. Like, we are not creating the feeling that I want to create. And I redid it. And now it's been running for months, and it's just so wild. When I say we are having 33% conversions from the $33 offer into the $1,111 offer, I'm just like, this is insane. And it's literally, and none of these other fucking funnel templates, like, they were not it for me. I had to create a frequency first funnel, and like, that is what I created. And that means, what does that actually mean in practice? So one, of course, I had to, the things that bring people through a funnel that are important for them to be there, obviously, there's some basic things about business that are always going to be in place, but I had to weave my frequency and my energetics and my voice activations and everything that moves, basically everything that moves people forward organically, right? I had to systematize that like into a funnel that sounded like me, that felt like me, that did not feel robotic, and that was creating insatiable buying desire for my client, where it was just like, yes, 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 right? So I'm activating them into the low ticket offer itself. I'm bridging them into the next offer through creating that insatiable buying desire with yes, 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 instead of just fucking shoving logic down their throat, right? And where they're like, have you guys been in funnels where maybe you even love the low ticket offer, and then you're getting the emails and you literally can't, you're like, who is this? Like, you're not even connecting the person who's sending you to the emails to the person whose offer you just took. You're like, I don't even know what's going on, right? Like these super dry funnels. I'm like, this is not it, right? So I did put a decent amount of effort into it so that it could really feel like me, sound like me, and make somebody feel connected to my brand, connected to my product, really anchored into creating actual identity and belief shifts, right? Like creating real time shifts through the funnel, not just relying on the low ticket offer to do all the work. And then, of course, the sales pages are creating that positive emotional intention. And then additionally, I actually have a private podcast. So I convert very well through podcasts. I was like, I'm going to support this whole system with a private podcast that also sells into overflow. So all of those things together are what is creating this result. And so essentially, my signature edge is dripped all over everything. I call it the quantum sales pathway because people don't need 6,000 steps. It's like, yes, people will come in and just pay $1,000. People will come in and just pay you $10,000. Like just in the past few weeks alone, from the people who've bought the $33 offers, I have had people upgrading into $10,000 offers who came to me cold off a $33 offer. I can think of 3 people off the top of my head, and not specifically people who came through the quantum sales pathway. That is even excluding people who are buying the $10,000 offer who did not come through that pathway, but who came through other places in my world. And so now I am so happy that I went through that season of being like, okay, this is not it. I cannot continue to be my own sales system. I do not want to spend holidays on my phone making money. Like, and I don't want to just be writing recurring income. And I don't desire to have like 65 people in Telegram. I want to be able to really build the relationships that feel really good to me. I want really soul aligned women in my world. And I do not always want to be the reason that they come in because of my manual efforts. Like, this is just not ease for me. And so I built a system that can work without me while I'm living my life, but it's working for my clients too, because the thing is, the system would not work for me if it wasn't working for my clients. And my clients are very energetically awake women. They need to feel activated. They need to feel safe making the next move. They need to feel like this space is truly for them without me being like, this space is for you, right? Like, we have to be able to reach people subconsciously and energetically on a more advanced level than just being like, this space is for you, if you know what I'm saying. And so that's how I got here. And just to have this result and just to see this working like clockwork. And now I get to put it in place in other parts of my business, right? So that quantum sales pathway sells out overflow. It also, leads people into the revolution. But now obviously I have other signature products and other, places where I can create a similar pathway. And it's just working so well. And it's also really cool to see how the private podcast is also supporting the low ticket product. I will say as well, which is super interesting, that the majority of people who've come into the $1,111 product have purchased the low ticket offer and listened to the private podcast. So I really believe, in addition to the optimizations I made to my sales pages, to my funnels, et cetera, that having both products in place really gave them that certainty that, like, yes, I have just found this girl and I'm going to spend $1,000 into this next offer. I feel really fucking good about it. And what I love too is it's going to weed out having that much exposure to me through the low ticket product, through the private podcast, to the frequency first email sequence, to these sales pages that are creating all the positive emotional intention. If I'm not for you, it's going to become really fucking obvious. And we want people who are for us in our world. And if I am for someone, it's going to be blaringly, abundantly obvious. And so that's part of the reason why they're also coming into the 10K space as well. Because think about it, if everything's just fucking logic based and like, oh, I guess I'll just try this 297 thing, like blah, 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 right? Like, oh, okay, I'll just try to hire her to solve this problem. This is, how I'm very into get paid to exist, paid for who you are. Hence signature edge vibes versus just getting paid to solve problems. You end up with really heavy people in your mentorship spaces who aren't aligned. And then you subconsciously don't want more clients because they feel misaligned and becomes a whole mess, right? So I actually love that this system pushes people out as much as it like brings the right people in. So there's also just this like sorting out that occurs because it's so heavily energetically coded with who I am and my essence and how I think and how I be. And like, I'm probably going to trigger you out real fast and activate the women who are for me forward very quickly. Right. And so this is why I love it. And it's just so cool to just see like new people coming into my world every single day off the low ticket offer. We got like $1,000 sale after $1,000 sale after $1,000 sales. People being like, oh my God, I'm so pulled into your world. I fucking love this. Can I join the mastermind? Can I join this? Can I join that? And also, I didn't even cover for you. They're buying all these. Then they go to my site and buy all of these other things that are sitting on the site, right? That aren't even part of my sales pathway. And then inside my seduction sequence email funnel, I also have a downsell for anyone who does not buy overflow. They're buying that as well, right? So there's just money. So it's like, you're bringing people in once, you make money forever. The system works, it sells itself for you. But the thing is, it sounds like you, it feels like you, so it activates your people. And then they are like, holy fuck, I love all of this. Like, let me buy everything. And you aren't doing anything. You aren't doing anything. And you might be thinking like, well, Jocelyn, you run ads. I was like, yeah, but all I did was put visibility on a system that works, right? This gets to work just as well organically. Like you can easily have, for example, you get to a reel, you get to a post that converts very well into the low ticket offer. Well, what do people do when they find your page? The first thing they do is go to your pinned post, right? Same thing for the freebie as well. The first thing they're going to do is go to your pinned post, bring them in that way, take them through the whole sequence that's working. And then, yeah, you too can just be like running low cost ads onto your freebie, onto, that's designed to sell the product, onto your low ticket product, and like, boom. And obviously, I'm teaching how to build these products. I'm teaching the dissection email sequence. I'm teaching how to create these sales pages with emotional attention, all inside Enchanted Sales. And then to actually have that multidimensional support for, building your quantum sales pathway, and also just for building your entire business, right? Like my whole business is not built through these quantum sales pathways. I'm doing this piece by piece by piece. But before I was doing this, like I said, if I just wanted to sell high ticket, I would just sell high ticket. If I just wanted to sell mid ticket, I would just sell mid ticket, right? So I'm doing business a number of different ways, but it's like I'm building for the future at present by building these quantum sales pathways. And so it's like I'm getting to make money when I'm not selling without just relying on reoccurring income, and it feels so good. So if you're like, I want a taste of this medicine, I am frequency first. I would like to not always be my own sales system. And it's not because you don't want to sell. It's not because you don't want to show up for your company. Like here I am showing up for my company, but it's that you just don't want all of that weight on you. And you just want to be making, like, this is easily added $20,000 a month minimum to my monthly income that I'm not doing anything for, right? So you get to add it to everything else that you're already doing. It's just like, why wouldn't we? And you've kept yourself from doing it because the only women you see doing this basically run their businesses like men. And you're like, I cannot relate. Or they're so 3D, you're like, I cannot relate. And so now I'm giving you the opportunity to come into a frequency first space where I actually understand you, right? And I actually understand the depth of your work and have a very easy time seeing inside my clients, hey babe, like, you don't even realize these ways that you're differentiated. Yes, in how your work works, but also in who you are. Also in who you are, that is going to be massively, massively supportive to you quantum leaping your sales. But right now, you're just relying on people sort of like feeling that out when you talk, when you podcast, when you post, et cetera, et cetera. But we just want to pull it out and bring articulation to it and drip it all over your sales pages, all over your funnels, right? All over your messaging, all over your positioning, so that people don't need to, you're not waiting for them to figure it out. They know it and they feel it. And it's like that instant right away. So if you desire support with this, one, if you want to do the a la carte version, do it yourself. Join us inside Enchanted Sales, where that is you're going to learn all the unseen energetics of sales and build your, feminine sales systems that are absolutely flexible. This is not one of these like, you got to sell it like I do, right? But I'm really teaching you how to have your own systems for selling out every single offer in your world, no matter whether you're choosing the quantum sales pathway or just like, hey, right now, Jocelyn, I just want to focus on only selling high ticket or only selling mid ticket. And you can build that pathway organically. Like things can come together over time, and then you can like weave them together. A lot of this was organically created for me, right? And then I wove it all together, or you can create it intentionally, like from the very beginning. So you can do a la carte inside Enchanted Sales, or come join us inside Overflow for individually attuned mentorship, where we create demand from your depth. Your multidimensionality is not the reason that sales are complicated. It actually becomes the reason you get paid, which is exactly what you want it to be. The investment for the revolution is going to be going up on November 1st. Right now, credits from the Secret Money membership, Magnify, Manifest, Receive, Overflow, any offer that you've purchased in the past 30 days will apply to joining the revolution. I highly recommend jumping in. Our next 6-week mastermind is going to be coming. Believe we're going to start it in January, but all along the way, we have twice monthly hot seat coaching calls, twice a year. We do have 6-week intensive masterminds where we go very deep on like specific topics. I'm probably going to make the next one around the quantum sales pathway. Don't quote me on that though, because I'm not quite sure. I'm just going to see what it feels like. All the women are really needing. And then, of course, you have access to my full premium product suite that is everything feminine business and limitless wealth creation. So you're really going to get the deep energetics, the activations, as well as the like frequency coded strategies that are based in like a leaned back energy. I'm not like, you have to do sales calls, you have to do 65 launches, you have to do 45,000 free events to sell a thing, right? I'm like, no, if you fucking leverage your frequency strategically, you don't have to do all those things. We are about quantum leaping over here. So if you have questions about joining the revolution, please feel free to shoot me a DM or email assistant@jocelynkellyreid.com. You can also just head straight to episode notes and get that link. This is your reminder. The price will be going up November 1st. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and I will be back soon.